This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not stopping a Mercer Island street brawl, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio World.
Are you a small business owner in Seattle who was impacted by COVID-19? The Seattle Office of Economic Development is investing $8 million to connect small businesses to operating capital. The Small Business Capital Access Program will lower the cost of Washington State Small Business Flex Fund loans by paying down 25% of the loan principal. Eligible small businesses can borrow up to $150,000 with a 4% interest rate to cover expenses like payroll, rent, utilities, and supplies.
What's on your heart? Are you exhausted at the lack of progress for people of color in business, politics, and life? This is Cindy Bright, the host of Heartbeat Radio. Each week, we explore this heart condition of the country that is affecting you and me. We have real conversations about what's necessary for change. It's time to change this dialogue. Will you join us Heartbeat weekly Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Mga kaibigan, ito po si Kuya Bert Kawili.
And this is Miles Salvador from Australia.
And I'm Norb Kawili, also known as Norbcam.
Kung gusto niyo po ang latest news and events from the Philippines at yung local Filipino community, Phil-Am Radio po.
We play Filipino music and interview guests from all around the world.
And I'll keep you updated on the latest Seahawks and sports news.
Kaya always tune in, Phil-Am Radio every Tuesday, 1 to 2:30 p.m. Pacific Time on Rainier Avenue Radio World.
And in YouTube and Facebook. Salamat po.
Feel uneasy on your feet? Need assistance to walk? Do you use a wheelchair and want to stand more? What if you could stand stronger and feel steadier on your feet? What would this mean for your daily life and those closest to you? Join our dance-based walking program to improve balance, coordination, strength, and stamina. Wednesdays, May 18th to June 22nd at 2 p.m. at the iconic Columbia City Theater in partnership with Rainier Avenue Radio and Hugs the Empower nonprofit. Walkers, wheelchairs, and canes, welcome. If you can stand and bear weight for even just 5 seconds, come dance to walk with Tango Stride.
Rainier Avenue Radio, your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Welcome to Clean Green's Living Live broadcast on Rainier Avenue Radio. It is your host, Queen Bree and Robyn T. What's going on, Robyn?
Not much. Hi, happy to be here today. I must say you're Queen Bree, but you have a whole princess thing going on today, and I love it so much.
Thank you. Look, this is my dollar store headband. Isn't it cute?
So cute. I do have a quick little bit of news in lieu of our land acknowledgement to replace the land acknowledgement, and I'll just do it real quick because we have a lot to talk about today. So I do usually mention the land we are on, and I want to give you an update. The Duwamish tribe filed a lawsuit this week against the U.S. federal government over tribal recognition. They are asking the U.S. to realize the promises made in the Treaty of Point Elliott, signed in 1855 by Chief Seattle on behalf of both the Duwamish and Suquamish tribes. The denial of federal recognition has consequences for members. Denial of federal support for health, education, anti-poverty programs, and denial of tribal sovereignty, self-determination, and the commitment of the federal government to continued survival of the tribe. So this happened this week. Please, there are things you can do to support. You can go to realrentduwamish.org and sign a petition and find out other ways to support. That is my land acknowledgement / news today for you about where we're coming to you from Seattle and Rainier Avenue Radio. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Robyn. Can we just say I love your whole look today? You look gorge.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So let's open it up with some announcements. you want to talk about the CSA?
Sure. So I love talking about CSA. So Brie loves to kick it to me because it is about to go down. Well, starting in June, late June, we are talking to farmer Tommy Willis about the start dates because the weather is all over the place, as you can see. So that we are planting next week as well. I have emailed the volunteer list. If you would like to volunteer and come plant with us, there are still some spots. And we're going out to the farm in Duval Wednesday, March 18th at 10 a.m. You can hit us up on the website or in our DMs or email us cleangreensfarmmarket@gmail.com. But if you want to become a member of our CSA and get a weekly share of vegetables and support everything we are doing, there are spots available as well for that. There's a pickup location in the Central District and in the Maple Leaf neighborhood. So please get on board with us. The veggies are going to be amazing as usual. And what else is happening?
Well, first of all, I can't wait for them veggies. I'm super excited. What else is happening? Did you mention the kids program? The kids program is starting. Well, hopefully this week it's starting. It's been pouring down raining, like we said, and rain affects farming. And that is something that we can also talk about when we start our kids program. But we're supposed to be starting the kids program this Saturday at this location behind Rainier Beach. I don't know the address, but it's behind Rainier Beach. So we still have some spots left. So if you want to get your kids signed up, please contact us, DM us, or email us. Or check out the website at www.cleangreensfarmermarket.com. Just a few more notices and appreciations. It's Nurses Week. So if you know a nurse, reach out and say thank you and treat her to something, a cup of coffee or anything, and just let them know that we appreciate their hard work and being at the front lines to take care of us, especially during this pandemic. I mean, it's been a lot for everyone. And May is also Mental Health Awareness Month. And we've been talking about that a lot lately. Because one, mental health is real, and two, being a mother sometimes can be overwhelming. So for a while, we have been talking about it. I got this quote off of Washington Therapy Fund you can follow them on Gmail. And it says, do things at your own pace. Life is not a race. Do things at your own pace. Life is not a race. I know that this world makes us feel like we got to be going all the time, but take some time to relax. I've been doing it, and I actually feel like I'm more productive now that I've taken time to relax and have a mental moment than I am when I'm going. Because sometimes when you're going, you stress yourself out where you just sit there and don't do anything.
Exactly. I think you're spot on with that. And I must say that is one of my favorite things to experiment with. Doing less, but getting way more done. It's actually amazing. It's uncanny. I keep trying it more and more because I'm like, it keeps working. The more I do less, the more stuff I get done in a more real way and a more peaceful way. And it is absolutely true. Slow down and get more done. You know what that reminds me of? This is so random, but I feel like on one of India Arie's older albums, there was a song about her mom telling her to slow down. And I couldn't slow down for years. I was like, I know that's wisdom, but I can't slow down. And it's really true. And maybe it's just because of the state of the world, or maybe it's because I'm a little older. We're a little older. We've been burnt out, but it is a true message. So
yes. And then look, brother Pastor TD Jakes, I watched one of his episodes, and he got sometimes when you're at church, you feel like people are coming for you. He came for me because he was like, he's talking about slowing down. And he also mentioned something about if you have too much stuff on your plate and you're not getting anything done, take it off, because it's better to have less and be more productive than have more and then you're not even productive at all. So I've literally been calming down with a lot of stuff. So I'm taking stuff off my plate as well. Well, I'm excited. Our guest is here. I'm so excited to have her. She's family to us. For those of you who do not know, we have on our guest today is Dr. Alicia. We talk about her all the time. We tell you go follow Happy Healthy Dr. Alicia. She is going to be in here, and we're going to just talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about abortion, but there's more to this. And we wanted to have someone on to just like bounce ideas and thoughts off our head. We knew we wanted to talk about it, but we didn't know how. And as always, she's so brilliant. She's bringing it together. And I just want to bring her on and let's just get into this.
Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good. It's been a while.
It has, hasn't it? So much life has happened.
Yes. I mean, your baby's 20 now. No, this makes sense.
Because then that would make me 25 years old.
Right. My kids stay aging and I am not getting older. But how are you? How is your baby? How is your son?
Everybody's doing wonderful. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
We are blessed and highly favored.
Amen. So, of course, last week, was it last week? Yeah, it was last week. We heard about the leak in the Supreme Court about overturning Roe versus Wade.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'll be trying not to get too heated and stay focused because I always know that I can panic about these things, but I also wanted to talk about it. But I wanted to talk about it in a real way. And we wanted to get you on and just talk to the people, talk to us. I know that we talked a little bit about it, didn't we, Robyn? I can't remember, about abortion and how.
Yeah, we have spoken about it actually our last conversation. The last time I was on this show, we spoke a little bit about it after the Texas law came out, really limiting abortion access and rights, and how the governor made this ridiculous comment about rape what did he say? That basically rape doesn't exist.
I think he said something like, oh gosh, what did he say? It's gonna kill me because he said something so ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't think he said it didn't exist. He said, I forgot what he said.
Oh,
I gotta look this up.
I remember. He said he wants to eliminate rape.
Yes. Eliminate rape.
You're like, WTF does that mean?
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes. He said
that's when you made the brilliant comment, rape is not a stranger, which I had to post on Instagram because that was just so poignant and perfect.
Yeah, thank you. And this
take place in people's lives very commonly, and they're often perpetuated by people they know. So how are you going to, unless you change the structural dynamics of how people live, that kind of really force people into these types of pathologies, we're going to keep talking about this, right? Yeah.
Right.
But of course, completely disconnected and just doesn't understand that.
And even what you're saying, that they keep wanting to eliminate abortion and rape without any real practices of what would happen outside of the home. How sway? You don't want us to have abortions, but what medical resources do we have for free? What childcare? What resources do you have for women? How can you look a woman in her face who's been raped and tell her she has to keep a baby? I wouldn't even know how to console someone through that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot to talk about. But I like how we were just talking the other day, and you mentioned, because we always talk about, I feel like we always talk about don't do this, don't do this, let's take away this, let's take away that. But there's never a real conversation about family planning, family planning. Even we don't talk about it in church about sex, abortion, family planning, and just being a little bit I don't think that we'll ever eliminate any of that stuff. I would love to, but how can we prepare and be mindful of those things?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it's always great to kind of start with what we're talking about fundamentally, and that is reproductive health, right? So let's just start from the very basics. We're talking about reproductive health, we're talking about well-being, we're talking about longevity, right? Good quality of life. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about lives, people's lives and their quality of life. And so with kind of speaking about that, it is important that we talk about family planning, right? Like for us to have more forethought about what we want our futures to look like, right? Whether we want to have children, whether we don't want to have children, and also what that future is going to look like for our families, right? And so what we mean by family planning is really asking yourself one key question, I would like to call it in healthcare, which is, do you want to be pregnant in the next year? Do you want to be pregnant in the next year? If the answer is no, then we can talk about options to ensure that that doesn't happen for you, if that's what you desire. If the answer is yes, then we can go the other direction and kind of get your body prepped for pregnancy, right? But I think often in healthcare, we miss the boat on asking that key question, right? And so what ends up happening is that people really lose the opportunity to control their fertility, right? And may end up in situations due to life circumstances that really force them to make a decision about whether they want to continue a pregnancy or not, right? Now, it's really up to us to think about this from a moral standpoint, which is because we're all spirits having a human experience, right? And we're all believers in God, a higher power. Shouldn't we really leave it up to him to judge, right?
Right.
It's not up to us to decide to put boundaries or qualifiers on people's experiences and say, you can have an abortion and you can't have an abortion. Because you're poor, we're going to take away your right to choose. And these people who are rich are always going to have access to these resources, regardless of what the laws are. They'll be able to access healthcare safely, and they'll be able to access it quickly, which is basically a right that's being robbed of impoverished women.
And I like how you mentioned like us believing in this higher power. And what trips me out is that most people who push this rhetoric are coming in the name of Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
But even in the Bible that they claim to read, it says that God gives you freedom of choice,
Mm-hmm.
whether right or wrong. So
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, then who are you to be this person to think you're this higher power to come rip that away from us?
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're really speaking to is the legacy of patriarchy and racism in our country. You know, those are really not, those are things that have existed for centuries that we're still at this point trying to unpack. And really also really clearly trying to disentangle the effects of these things on all of our societal systems, including healthcare, right? We really see that borne out very clearly when we look at health disparities. And reproductive health disparities are rampant, right? And this is the issue of justice, which is really the second lens apart from health that we should really view this topic. And so it's important to really think about that. Like, what are the experiences of these women as they navigate healthcare, as they navigate their life where they have to make these tough decisions, right? As you spoke about before, what are we doing as a society to ensure that our society's most vulnerable individuals are caught by a safety net, right? That people have the basic necessities to live, right? That there isn't such these huge gaps in wealth where people can be worth $100 trillion. And others like literally barely scrape by to just have a stable food house over their roof over their head. You know, we know that the vast majority of Americans, they say 2/3 of Americans are one paycheck away from poverty.
Yes.
So you tell me how that doesn't change or define how it is that individuals navigate their sexual life. When someone doesn't have a place to live or they don't have food to eat, how does that change how they navigate relationships with people, right? What will they be willing to give up in exchange for those basic necessities, right?
Right.
I've heard of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is what I'm talking about. That very basic first rung on that pyramid that's critical for us to thrive and be healthy.
And I know that we talked and you said, and I even noticed this, and I didn't mention the abortion rate because I didn't know that, but even teen pregnancy, like you mentioned, abortion rates are down.
Yes.
So the whole fact of this conversation even happening is bananas. And even teen pregnancy is down.
Yes.
So to stir this up, one can't help but think like, what is going on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where it's important for us to really start to kind of elevate our voices and really assert our rights to choose and have autonomy over our bodies, right? Like, And also really thinking about like, where is this coming from? Like, what is happening in our country now politically, which is, I know we all don't like to talk about politics or this or that, but it really governs all aspects of our lives. It's like impossible not to like think about these things through a political lens also. But, just really thinking about what else is happening in our country right now. Why now, right? Even though we know there's been this kind of slow erosion of our rights over the last 20 years. But when you think about what the political climate is like right now, we know that, for example, this is a midterm election year, right? And for some reason, there's a leaked memo from the Supreme Court, which often never happens, about this landmark decision. So we kind of have to think about like, why is this an attempt at polarization of the populace, where we're really kind of divided on this issue, where it's that one wedge issue that can really divide people who are otherwise very socially liberal, right?
Right.
I think there's just a lot here, right, in terms of that. And then also really thinking about what the end goal is. If the end goal is to eliminate abortion, or to get as close to it as possible, then that's already happening without these restrictions, right? Because women have increased access to long-acting reversible contraception that's highly effective. And, and this is a trend we really see all over the developed world, where the more options you have, the lower the birth rates, the lower the abortion rates. And that's exactly what we've seen in this country as well. That's borne out, where we've actually seen, close to 300,000 fewer abortions happening annually than we have 20 years ago. So that it kind of begs the question, like, okay, well, if this is happening without these interventions, then what's the purpose of these interventions? Like, why are you taking this right away if this is happening already from a public health perspective? It's an effective intervention, right?
Right.
So what is it?
Right. What is it?
Tap in and give me some ideas about what might be happening. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but
I don't even think it's conspiracy
like that almost. So, like there's so much control. It's almost hard to speak about and it usually goes back to money. But like you said, it's rooted in, patriarchy and racism. And it's like, it's like they're repeating the ways of like, stripping rights from women, and it's to have power and money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like weaponizing religion
mm-hmm.
to cause so much harm and suffering,
mm-hmm.
as per usual.
Yes.
But it's something that we kind of thought, oh, it's in control, it's in check. And we're really realizing it's really not. So when you say like lift up voices and stuff, I'm hopeful, because I see things like the labor movement making strides.
Mm-hmm.
But it's scary.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I like how you mentioned, like, I don't feel like you're being a conspiracist, because I feel like we've watched this government do a lot more. I don't know if it's because we're older now and we're seeing it, or if they really just don't even care these days.
Mm-hmm.
So that this is a power play or something within the politics. And I've been trying to watch how I say or how I move, because like, when Trump was in office, we were arguing with everyone, family members, people we don't know. And I never want to get back there, because I do know that, like you said, they're trying to keep us divided and mad and
mm-hmm.
arguing with each other so they can make other crazy decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Because this isn't, like you said, it's not just about abortions. This is about power.
Right.
So this is this power play that they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to keep this in mind, that, first of all, let me just let you guys know that if you're just tuning in, you're watching Clean Greens Living Live, broadcasted on Rainier Avenue Radio. It is your host, Queen Bree and Robyn T. And our very special guest, we might as well say like a third host, Dr. Alicia. You can follow her online at Happy Healthy Doctor. She has so much information, always talking about, you talk about mental health, women's health, everything. So please follow her. But like I was saying, I try to watch what I say, because I want it more to be a conversation and less of an argument. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, as long as we're divided, they're going to keep doing things like this. So I like how you reminded me. I don't even know if you meant to, but you reminded me to like basically stay woke. Don't argue with these folks.
It's a distraction, right? It doesn't quite, like I mentioned, it doesn't quite make sense why this is happening now when, this trend is already occurring without these types of power plays, as you mentioned. So yeah, it's just always kind of important to step back and just say, whoa, wait a minute.
Yes. Because I'll be like ready. I'll be ready to go. But I'm like, no, let's relax. We have to have a conversation. We can't keep arguing with each other at the opposite sides of the spectrum, because at the end of the day, while we're arguing, they're making decisions. And even if this gets passed, it's not just going to stop with abortion rights. It's going to go for all kinds of rights. And the fact that there's so many people telling women how to be a woman and what to do with her body is just crazy to me in these days and times, that we're still here with them telling us how to be a woman, how to treat a man, but no one's talking about like how a man should treat a woman, especially after she's gotten pregnant. Because I've mentioned, most women I know didn't really want an abortion. They wanted the baby, but I've seen men not want to deal with them until they had an abortion. And like we said, a lot of people were raped or molested and are young.
Yeah.
I seen a picture of a 13
also a lot of them are married with kids already and upper middle class. And, this isn't just about, this is about everyone, right?
Right.
People, my patients, it doesn't matter, like across the age spectrum, individuals who are across the gender spectrum, individuals who are young, individuals who are old, close to menopause, married, it doesn't matter. Like this right that affects everyone, and that it's so commonly sought after in this country, right? Like a third of all women are going to have this experience at some point in their life. We're not talking about a small number of people here.
I forgot. I'm glad you mentioned that, because we never think of the mother who has 3 children, or the family that has 3 children and they can't afford the 4th kid, because you're living in a world where you're not even getting paid to be able to afford to live where you are. No one ever thinks about that family.
Right.
Like the family that feel like they're too old to have another child. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned
family who, there's some sort of, genetic anomaly to the child. It's not, it's not compatible with life, but somehow that person still has to have, it's just, there's all sorts of situations, and it's possible to qualify them without, in some form or fashion, like inflicting, racist, patriarchal attitudes on people, right?
Right. Because I didn't even know, I never even thought or correlated it with miscarriages. Mothers who have miscarriages that don't pass the baby naturally,
right,
has to potentially have is it DNC? I don't want to say the wrong word. Yeah, they have to have that. So if abortion is taken away, then what happens to the mother? What happens? I don't know. Like,
some states probably still have some allowances for if the mother's life could be in danger.
Okay.
But there's so many different iterations of these restrictions, right? Like we've seen more abortion restrictions passed in the last year than we've seen in the last 10 years. And this has all been quietly happening, right?
Quietly happening by straight white men and with money and power. There is no women. Well, there is women, but hey, I don't even know what to say anymore. I forgot there was this one woman Republican that voted against it. We have 1 minute. Is there anywhere people can go and like get resources, like besides your page? Because we always shoot them to your page. Is there where can people go to get more information about this and just staying informed about women's health, Black mental health, Black maternal health and all that stuff?
I always encourage people to establish like a trusting relationship with your doctor, because they can really point you in the right direction, because they know you very well. They know the types of things you might want to read for information, what might be needed to kind of get you to what your goals are. And I think specifically around this issue as well, they can also point you to local resources in your community where you can kind of join advocacy groups or writing campaigns to local politicians to really ensure that they know where people stand on this issue. So that's always, I feel, a good place to start. Then, of course, there are your, national organizations like Planned Parenthood, which, of course, has always kind of led the way on keeping this issue relevant and fighting against it. So, yeah, those would kind of be my recommendations. I think it's super important that people stay civically engaged. I know that sometimes it's very hard to, but we know that civic engagement is a social determinant of health, that people who vote are healthier. So really important that people definitely exercise their right to vote.
Yeah, stay voting, stay informed. A lot of people get so frustrated. I'm like, I'm not voting. No, continue to vote. Just stay informed. Just because somebody's screaming pro-choice does not mean that they're pro-choice. Get to know them and what they really stand for. Also, Mental Health Awareness Month. Stay focused. Get with your doctor. If you're struggling with mental health, get with your doctor. And please just take it one step at a time. Thank you for joining us on Clean Greens Living. Thank you, Dr. Alicia, for taking time out of your busy schedule. Up next is Traffic Jam.